All right, good morning everybody. Today we are going to do my first ever farm and garden tour. This is Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey, and so we are going to start out in the front of my property and work our way around. This property, when we first moved here a year and a half ago, the previous owners had done nothing. The house at this point is right about 7 years old, and the property, they had just been letting, excuse me, one of the local farmers just hay, and they had a little bit of a backyard, but that was it. So we're gonna go out and take a look. Oh wow, it is super muggy out here today. So we'll start here just in the front. So the property here, let me see, I'm not sure how well you can see what I'm trying to talk about. So this over here on the other side of our driveway was just all, there was a little bit of it that was mowed, not as far back as we have it mowed, but we planted some trees. So we've got a bunch of trees planted over here. We've got some, well, we had a bunch that died. We planted a bunch last year and they didn't make it. The weather was terrible last year. But we've got, I think we have two apple trees, one cherry tree, because the other ones died. 2 peach trees, 2 plum trees, and a couple of filberts. We had some pear, but I think both of the pear died as well. I was keeping really good records when we first moved in, and now some of these I'm not exactly sure what 1 or 2 of these trees are. But this is the start of our orchard, which I want to continue back this direction a little ways as time goes on. So we've got this first batch of trees here, and we'll probably plant some more this fall or next spring and just add to this. Also out here in the front, not sure how well you can see those little markers, there's little flags out there. Those are lilac bushes. Last year I ordered 10, and I think I ordered them from Gurney's maybe, but when I ordered them, of course, they were teeny tiny when I got them, and the weather last year, like I said, was not kind to anything. So, all right, my battery died. I had to put a new battery in. So those out there are our lilacs. The ones that I planted last year, we may have 1 or 2 left. I had this really pretty color pattern going, and now we've just got random lilacs, but that's okay. I love lilacs. They will smell so good once they get bigger and start blooming. My thought was, if I planted them, oh gosh, it rained last night, it's kind of muddy. My thought was, if I plant them all along the front of the property, not only would it kind of provide a little bit of privacy from the street, block a little bit of noise, not that there's a whole lot, but they would be gorgeous and they would smell really good. So I'm very excited for those to start growing and get to a point where they will start blooming. We've got this building here, which is, this was here when we moved in, so this has been nice. My husband can park in here. Our garage is a 2-car garage, but it's kind of a tight fit, especially right now because it still needs some organization, but this way my husband can park in here if the weather is bad or going to be bad. So really the only thing they had when we bought this property was, it's kind of hard to tell right now because we've taken everything down, but this was a sand volleyball pit which it's just my husband and me, and so obviously we didn't care about the volleyball pit. Last year we tried putting some gardening items in here. That didn't work either because there's some super thick landscape fabric about 6 inches down or so. So stuff really couldn't get down to where it needed to be to grow. This year we're going to put our pool up in this area and eventually we're going to build a deck all the way around it. I think we're going to start with just a partial deck just so there's a place for us to sit. And then of course, here's our girls. So they're very curious. Do you want to say hi, ladies? So this is Maggie and Molly. Hi, ladies. Hi. They are about 14 months old. So we are going to breed them this fall. We actually, not sure what order these videos are going to come out in, but I have a video where we added on this section over here, another pen area, and this side is bigger. We're going to build a shelter for this side as well, and we're going to move our girls to that side, and then we've got a buck and a wether that we'll be getting in a few weeks, and we'll put our boys over on this side since it's a little smaller, and then the girls and any potential babies that we get hopefully next spring will be in this other side. So there is a full video that I've done on how we put up this other side of our goat pen. But like I said, I'm not sure which one of these videos will come out first, but we do have that video. This weekend we're going to work on building the shelter, so that will be a video as well. All right, say hi, ladies. Say hi. So you can see most of this property right now is just hay. We have a local farmer who's been haying this property for, I don't even know how long, 30 years or something like that. This particular property was just developed, like I said, in the last several years. The house was 5 years old in April. Today is June 2nd or 3rd, I think. So we are still having him hay this until we get to a point where we need this for something, which eventually I'd like to have some cattle, a milk cow, maybe a couple beef cows, just for our own personal use. But, you know, can't do everything at once. As much as I would like to have just moved in and done everything immediately, obviously that's not feasible because everything takes time and money. And Joe and I both are working still full-time jobs. So we do all the farm stuff we do in the evenings and on the weekends. So we've got to manage our time until we're at a point where we're able to retire or whatever, so that we can spend more time on the farm and less time off the farm at an outside job. So here is our second chicken coop. So we moved our babies out here once they were big enough to be moved. You can hear the ducks in the background. So they need to be fed. So they are they're all running around crazy because they want to be fed. My husband is actually at a run this morning. He is a runner, and he is running Hospital Hill. If you're familiar with the Kansas City area or that race, he does that every year. He's running a half marathon, so he left super early this morning, and so I'm going to go ahead and feed these babies while we're out here. And we usually just do what I just did, which is pour the feed through the angled part of the top of their coop, because when you try to open their coop, they will try to run out, and sometimes do, and then I have to catch them, and it's a pain. So this works, and they're so cute. They're between, there's a couple of different batches in here. They're all between 8 and 10 or 11 weeks. So we've got some laying flock that I ordered from McMurray's to increase our layers. I've got some silkies that I bought from the local farm store, and then there are a few in here that we hatched ourselves from our own eggs. So it looks like I probably have at least one rooster in that batch, maybe two, I'm not sure yet. I can't really tell. The dog just scared them. But as soon as we figure out how many roosters we've got in here, we will decide what we're going to do. Hopefully we don't have too many, so we don't have to pull them out. Here's our vicious guard dog, Bear. Say hi, Bear. Say hi. Say hi. So one of the first things we did when we moved in was build a fence around this backyard area so that we could let the dog out without having to worry about him. In our old home, we had a fenced-in backyard, and we never let him out unless he was going into a fenced area or unless he was on a leash. And now we don't let him out because he can't be trusted with the chickens, because he is a chicken killer. So here we've got our little meat chickens. I think we've got 36 in there. We had 50, but we lost quite a few before we could get them outside. And they need to be fed, and the dog's going crazy because they're right next to the fence. They're not your food. I need to get them some more water too, but in the mornings, if I'm the one who feeds them, I usually just dump their food reasonably close to their little trays, because if you try to stick your hand in there, they will attack your hand because they think you've got food. So early in the day, I usually just dump their feed wherever so they can eat. It'll be gone before evening. And then when we feed them late this afternoon or in the evening, we'll put the feed in their trays after we've moved their little chicken tractor. And so Joe and I made this chicken tractor last year, and I think I have a video, or at least a partial video, of us building this tractor. So I'm going to move on, and I'll bring the water out and get them some fresh water in here in a little bit. So now we're going to move on to maybe right now my absolute favorite part of this property, which is our garden. So we tried last year to get this garden going, and we didn't really have the equipment that we needed. And like I said, the weather was not very cooperative. I'm gonna switch gears for just a second. So here is our original chicken coop. So the back portion over here, like on this, you can kind of see on the left side where it's covered with tin. That was a metal, or just a metal coop that we bought from, I think, Tractor Supply. And we put it together, and then we ordered a couple of chicken runs that you could do 5x15 or 10x10. You could just do the panels, whichever way made the most sense. And so we did one in the 5x15, and then we did the other in the 10x10. So they've got their coop at the very back, which my husband used some tin that we had gotten from somebody that he worked with. Just his mom had it and he wanted to get rid of it, so he delivered it to us. Even we didn't even have to go get it, so that was great. So Joe used that to kind of box in the original coop area, and then we made the first section more of a run, and then this end section more of just an area where they have a place to run around. We can't let them out because of Bear. He will definitely eat them. He got into the coop, I don't know, a couple of months ago and killed one of them. So now we are extra careful that we make sure that the door is completely latched, because if it's not, he will definitely get in. So their nesting boxes and their roosting bars are all inside that enclosed area, and of course then they'll go in there at night and sleep in there, and then that's of course where I collect their eggs. I would eventually like to put our chickens out where the ducks are so loud. I would eventually like to put them out in some mobile coops with some electrified poultry netting, so that they can really be free range chickens. But right now this is what we've got. So maybe next summer we can build a couple of mobile coops so that we can get them out there and let them move around. But for now they seem happy, they're doing well, we get tons of eggs. Alright, so now we'll go refocus on the garden. So I ordered some mulch from a local place here. So we've got this pile. My husband's gone through about half of it. I bought it to help with weeds in the garden. Alright, so like I said, this is my absolute, right now, favorite part of our property. So it's terribly weedy, and I was gonna wait until we had it all cleaned up and then do this video, but you know, this is this is real life. The garden gets weedy. With us both working full-time jobs, sometimes it's hard to stay on top of things, and you get any little bit of rain and the weeds get 10 feet tall. You guys know that. So at this end, I've got 2 double rows of strawberries. They're kind of hard to see because of the weeds. So you might be able to see there's a double row of strawberries here and a double row of strawberries there that we've got going. And we did have a strawberry that was about ready, so let me just see if I can find it. So here is our very first strawberry. It does need to be washed. I was just going to eat it, but it's pretty dirty since it was raining, so I'm going to take it in the house and wash it before I eat it. And then this is just a row that needs to be covered with mulch. And I've got some corn growing in this section. You can kind of see my rows, which are about as straight as when I cut cakes or lasagna, which is to say not straight at all. But I struggled with weeding initially because the corn looks so much like this weed that we have a ton of in our area, or I don't know where else it is, but the only way I could tell the difference between the weed and the corn is that the weed has red at the base of it. So I've been trying to come in here and weed, and now that the corn is taller, I'm going to be able to do a lot better. And you can see that this corn over here, this row on the far right of this section right here between these two markers, is much taller. It's a different type of corn, and also the seeds are newer. I think the other corn, the seeds were from last year. So better germination, it's growing better. Also, it's just a different type. But now that I can see my crooked rows of corn, I can really get in there and do some weeding. And then we got the mulch to spread between the rows to help keep the weeds down. So my husband's been coming out and throwing out piles of mulch. Oh gosh, the sun's going to get super bright now and make it hard for me to see. So my husband's been coming and throwing out all these piles of mulch. And if it dries up a little bit today, I am going to get out there with the rake and spread that around. So that is what we're going to use this year to try and help control our weeds. And then my plan is to do the no-till method of gardening. So this fall, when everything's done in the garden, we're going to bring in some compost along with whatever compost we have here and just cover the entire area with a thick layer of compost. And then in the spring, we'll have another load of mulch brought in, cover the whole area with a layer of mulch, and then we can dig through the mulch into the compost and plant that way. So this area here is primarily pumpkins. So these little hills that you can see on this side and at that far end, well, between the weeds, those are different types of pumpkins. Back in the back section, I've got some sweetmeats, and then up here I have some more like jack-o'-lantern style pumpkins. And then this little row here, it's kind of a little, well, there's two of them, I guess. There's two little rows here on, I've got it raised up into a one big long hill, kind of. Those are my watermelons. And I swear when I do these, my rows look straight until when things start coming up and I see how crooked they really are. It's crazy. This here I'm really proud of. So these three sections here are my potatoes. I have Yukon Gold, a Russet, and a Red Norland in here. I do have those marked on a garden planner, so I know what's where of those. But I've tried growing potatoes before and I never had any luck. So I was super excited when they started coming up. They look like they're doing well, I guess. I don't know. So things are starting to flower. So I'm really anxious to see what kind of harvest we get out of these rows of potatoes. And then here we've got, uh-oh, did he cover up my rows? Here we've got a row of, so this right here is, these are gourds. And this row over here, which has gotten super weedy again, these are, goodness, what am I trying to say? these are loofahs, so hopefully we get something out of those. And hopefully things dry up a little bit around here so that I can get some of this mulch spread and get the garden cleaned up. So last weekend, which you can't tell now, of course, my husband took the weed eater and weeded everything down to the ground wherever he could get in. But then it's rained several times this week, and so when it wasn't raining, it's been hot and muggy. So of course everything is a weedy mess, and I haven't had a chance to get out here because I've been working. So at my job that I'm at right now, I work 3 days from home and 2 days in the office. And so when the weather's good, on the days I'm working from home, sometimes I try to get out here on my lunch hour and work in the garden, but it's been muddy this weekend, so it's been hard to do. So anyway, so then I've got a row of cauliflower here, which they're pretty small, and hopefully they're going to make it. I had to replant those a couple times because the first batch that I planted died because it got too hot and I couldn't get out here to get them watered regularly. Then I've got a couple rows of broccoli. Some of these are broccoli that I started from seed, which makes me very happy. This is the first year that I've ever started anything from seed that actually is growing and out in the garden, and I'm super excited by that. So some of this is broccoli I started from seed. Some of it is broccoli I bought at, I think, Home Depot. And one of the things, I didn't get everything marked properly in my garden planner. I had planted my carrots twice and I thought they weren't coming up. And then when I was out here putting straw and weeding around these, I saw that I just had things marked wrong. Oh, and it looks like Joe weed-eated a bunch of it down. Well, okay. So I had a row of carrots here growing right along my broccoli. It looks like he's weed-eated most of it down, but there is some carrots here. But I have carrots planted all over the place. This is this little row right here. Oh my gosh, I wish it wasn't so muddy. Right here is where I've started carrots multiple times. And after Joe weeded down to the ground, I put some more carrot seeds down and watered them in. I don't see anything. I don't see anything yet that I can tell are carrots, but maybe we'll get some more carrots there. And then I do have a couple of just containers with carrots in them. Then I've got a couple rows of tomatoes here. And these tomatoes, much to my surprise, are all tomatoes that I grew from seed. So I had some big beef and I had some Amish paste tomatoes. I think I only ended up with maybe 3 or 4 of the paste tomatoes. I do have everything marked. Once I get this mulch spread out and I can weed right around the tomatoes again, it'll be better. And then right here I've got a couple rows or partial rows of peppers. So I've got some red bells and some chocolate bells that I started from seed. And I think a couple of the red bells I bought at Home Depot. But the others I started from seed. And then I've got this raised bed here. I filled it with herbs and I can't tell. So clearly I've got a ton of oregano, or not oregano, oh my goodness, what am I trying to say? Cilantro over here. I've got dill or something growing back there. Looks like I've got something coming up right here, and this stuff, I don't know if it's doing anything. I did write down what is in each area of this though, and I have that in the house in my garden planner. This bed it was originally full of garlic, but this is all that made it through the winter. So I had 150 in there. I think I've got 35 maybe. So that's fine. And then you can kind of see, I filled the rest of it, well, there's a lot of weeds in here. I filled the rest of it with basil, which is starting to come up in some areas. Oh, these weeds just drive me crazy. But it's not supposed to rain anymore, although I don't think it was supposed to rain last night either. But hopefully, it is supposed to be hot today, so hopefully it will get the ground dried up a little bit so I can get out here and work in the garden tomorrow. So here, these 4 containers have carrot seeds, and I can see this one has a few little starts. This one does, this one does. This one doesn't yet, but I used the coated seeds, so they just may be taking a little longer to germinate. And then back here I've got my 2 rose bushes that we planted together against this old bed frame. And then I started a pot here with some cilantro. And this one over here has basil. And these were, I put in here, these were just starts I bought at Home Depot or somewhere, farm store, I'm not sure. So then, right here, we've got some cattle panels that we've staked up, and along each side of these I planted green beans, which I don't think I see any coming up yet, but it's not even been a week. So hopefully those will be coming up in the next few days. But these are pole beans, and the idea, of course, is that as they grow, they're going to vine up around this cattle panel, keeping the beans off the ground and making them much easier to pick. The last year that we were in our old house, we had a section like this. We just used old fencing, but it worked. And we had more beans than I knew what to do with. But it was fabulous because it was so easy to just walk under that tunnel and pick the beans that were hanging straight down. So here, it's hard to tell again because these weeds come up so fast. I have a row of bush beans. Try not to get too muddy out here. I have a row of bush beans right here because the pole beans always take longer to produce. So this will allow us to have some fresh beans over, the early part of summer. And in this horrid mass of weeds right here, I've got some lettuce, so you can see, oh no, over here, sorry. So I can see a few places where the lettuce is coming up, but I've got to get in here again and get weeded because they're struggling to grow because of all the weeds. I've got a couple rows of cabbage here. There's some green cabbage and purple cabbage, Some of this is from seed, some of it is from Home Depot, or I think Home Depot. Here I started a row of kale, and I only had a few, so like you can see that little section right there. But I do have a whole tray of kale starts that I'm going to transplant. Hopefully if the garden dries up a little bit, I can transplant those in the morning or tomorrow afternoon maybe. And then here I've got all my onions. So this little section here is all my red onions. This section here is my white onions. So I think I planted 325. I'm not going to get that many, which is fine, but it seems like most of them have come up and are doing well, so I'm excited about that. And then here in this row I have Brussels sprouts. These ones in the front I bought from Home Depot, and the ones in the back I started from seed. So they're all growing, it's just all this weed pressure. Here I have a little row of celery. It's kind of hard to see. And then zucchini. And then here's my cucumber. So I've got this section of fencing staked up. I do need to cut another section out at the very end. The piece of fence I had wasn't quite long enough to go to the end, so I need to cut a little section off of. We have some fencing where we have just little pieces left. Cut enough to finish out that row so the cucumbers have a place to trellis up. So here are my hot peppers. I've got 4 jalapenos, 2 poblanos, and 2 banana peppers, I believe. And then this is nothing right here. And then here we are back at the other end of the row of pumpkins. So these little hills here. So these are my sweetmeats. The plants that are big are the sweetmeats that I started from seed. So I got those transplanted into these hills. So I also have some sunflowers that I'm trying to figure out where I want to put them. I'm thinking I might put them along this section of the fence between the garden and what will eventually become more of the orchard. I think I might put them along that fence line. And I've got some chairs that I want to bring out here and sit somewhere, because there's a pretty big space over on this side of the garden, and the other side has our compost bin, so I don't want to put chairs over there because the compost bin is obviously not always the best smelling thing. So eventually my son, my youngest son, who is really into woodworking, I'm going to have him build me some seating for out here, because I want to be able to come out here and just enjoy this garden space. So right now, looking at the garden sort of stresses me out a little bit with all these weeds. But it's not going to always look like this. Once we can get that mulch spread, and then I can get in there and weed up close to the plants by hand or with a hoe, whatever, it's going to look so much better, and it makes me happy to be out here. Last year was the first year that I did not have a garden in at least 25 years, and it made me sad all summer long that I did not have my own garden. My dad brought us tomatoes very frequently, so we did have fresh tomatoes from the garden, but it wasn't my garden, and I really, really missed having my own garden. I don't particularly like to weed. I don't think anybody does. I don't know, maybe some people do. The satisfaction I get out of looking at the garden when it's all clean and things are growing, and I know that I'm responsible for them growing, and they're gonna, all the things that are growing is gonna provide food and you know, things for me and my family, not just my husband and I, but also our kids, our friends, our neighbors. You know, that we've got all of this abundance. It just makes me really happy, and so that's why I want to have a little seating area out here. I've got lots of future plans for kind of what I want to do out here to make this more of a place to not only grow food but come out and sit and enjoy. You know, and that's one of the things that's really important. Everybody, you know, everybody is busy. You've got your job and your family, whether you've got kids or whether you've got grandkids or whether you're taking care of your aging parents, whatever the case may be, everybody's busy. And sometimes I feel like we get so super focused on the things that we have to do that we forget about the things that bring us joy. And for me, this is one of those things. Actually, everything on this property brings me joy. This is the way I've wanted to live for a really, really long time. You know, I wanted the chickens and the goats, and I want cows, and I want pigs, and I want all that stuff. And having this huge garden, after we had a garden, the house that we lived in before, we were there about 16 or 17 years. Our garden there was about 650 square feet. This one is 6,500 square feet approximately. So it's obviously a lot more to manage, but it's also gives me place to grow the things that I have never been able to grow, like corn and melons and pumpkins and those sorts of things. You know, thinking about this fall when my grandkids can come out and find a little pumpkin and, you know, take it in and be so excited about finding it. I'm really excited about that. That makes me happy. So, you know, I just don't let your lives get so busy that you forget about the things that make you happy. And I'm not saying that your jobs or your work doesn't make you happy, but it's not the same thing. So make sure that your food is not just that, you know, your garden is not just feeding your body, but it's also nourishing your soul. You know, make it a place that you enjoy being in, that you like to look at, that makes you happy. And if that's not a garden, then, you know, obviously it's whatever it is for you. My grandkids, I'll drop anything to be with my grandkids. I love it, and I don't want to ever be at a point where when they're older they say, I wish I'd been able to spend more time with my grandma. If I have the opportunity to spend time with them, I'm going to, because they're not going to be little forever, and I'm not going to be around forever. I want us to be together as much as possible. So I'm kind of rambling now, but really all I was trying to get at was, you know, make sure that you are also including things in your life that really bring you joy. So, all right, thank you guys for watching and listening to me just kind of ramble on a little bit and looking at my garden. I know it seems like a ginormous mess right now, but we do have a plan. It will get better, and I'll bring you back when we've got some of this mulch spread out and we've got some more things cleaned up, so you can see the makeover, I guess, of this weedy mess into this organized garden with the super crooked rows. So, all right, thanks you guys, and I will see you on the next video.